для меня это новый опыт, новая страна. Я никогда раньше не был в Америке. Новые знакомства. Это довольно весело.
Happy to be back. So you finished second place last time. Second place. Is this going to be the time where you come back and win?
Не совсем, я таки так выиграю этот турнир.
Are you a player that likes to get emotional when you play Hearthstone? We know from last season you're a pretty calm player, but has anything changed? Do you still think about the game in the same way of just trying to not really let people get into your mind? Even if you win, are you gonna cheer? At least a smile.
Very quickly becoming the scariest character in Hearthstone.
A man after my own heart. I don't think I can add anything to increase the brilliance of that interview. DrHippi is just my hero.
Yeah, it's such a great character overall. And, you know, on Virtus Pro joined because of another champion who's Neyman and, you know, another exceptional player. And the fact that DrHippi's returned, you know, again, he is back here for the second time. It is such an impressive feat considering it's the qualification again through prelims, battling through that huge bracket and then into the top 8 all over again. And he's been proving why he's doing it. You know, he's 2-0 up versus Bawse, his first opponent in this top 8, and he's looking pretty steady so far.
Yeah, of course, Neyman was the player who you know, snatched his dreams away from him originally. You know, defeated him in grand finals, but you know, instead of salt and misery coming out of that, a friendship was born, and you know, they ended up joining the same team. And DrHippi says that one of his big motivations to go to BlizzCon is to compete against Neyman again on the biggest possible stage.
Yep, there is nothing bigger for these players, and it's going to be Game 3 beginning now. It's DrHippi's Mage, which is not Freeze, versus Bawse's Zoo. That we saw earlier on. So what is this mage list and what is DrHippi doing? Has he queued the wrong one, Sol?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure if we can say he's queued the wrong mage deck. He's just put the wrong cards in his mage deck. He is, unfortunately, to my great disappointment, is playing double Kabbalist Tome Tempo Mage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Over to the dark side.
You actually sat and played some ladder with him with this deck, right? With the Tempo Mage, and found out some interesting facts about DrHippi.
So, you know, completely known for his Freeze Mage play, of course. Everyone knows this. And I asked him, so, you know, is this the first time you've taken Freeze Mage to a tournament? And he said, sorry, not taken Freeze Mage to a tournament. And he said, yep. First time ever in any tournament he's not brought Freeze Mage. It's like, okay, so how much of this list have you played? Not really any. I've just brought it because I didn't feel like Freeze Mage was the right fit. And yeah, this looked like the best list to bring, so I'm doing it. And I said, so when was the last time you played Tempo? Yeah, back in Naxxramas days, or at least the Mad Scientist days. I was like, good luck, DrHippi. Yeah. Good luck.
This There is a fine line between genius and insanity, and this decision rides on that line exactly, because I mentioned in the previous series that we cast together that I feel like this has been a kind of a meta dictated by the presence of Freeze Mage in the meta on two of the strongest players. DrHippi, George C, both expected to bring Freeze Mage to this tournament. So the genius level of this decision is that DrHippi has swerved everyone. And I asked Bawse specifically, you were prepared for Freeze Mage, right? He said, yeah, 100%. Thought he was bringing Freeze Mage. So he has, at least swerved everyone in that regard, but how wise is the decision to bring a deck that you have so little experience
Well,
with?
you know, we're going to find out, and we mentioned this earlier, where I think, you know, DrHippi is an exceptional player. There is no questions there. Mechanically, he's very good. Is he good enough to pilot?
Wow.
Stop right there. That was just smoke missiles, all to face. The Voidwalker just chilling.
Like a Bawse does, you know, rock back in his seat. He gets the slightly sad news that his Voidwalker is going to bite the dust anyway, but for a second there, he was living in dream world as he thought his 1-3 was going to survive. He had the abusive Sergeant in hand, which would have been able to come out and pick up a tempo trade on the board. So that would have been a huge deal. And like a Bawse is now going to cycle one of these cards out with the Soulfire, just reduce some of this pressure on board right now. And holding on to the Knife Juggler here is a big deal because he's still going to be behind on this board next turn and could very, very possibly need some strong knives from the Knife Juggler to be able to take out the 3-1 Mana Worm.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, the Soulfire on the Apprentice. So the sorcerers can cause havoc in this list, right? You know, you can really, with reduction of spells by 1, cause absolute havoc, but your opponent's got 1 card, goes into 2 in hand. There's what, like, actual arcane intellect you're afraid of after seeing arcane missiles and arcane blast. So
yes,
you know, maybe the Mana Worm was the target, because that's going to start stacking up.
No, I almost all of the time prioritize Sorcerer's Apprentice over everything else. Flamewaker is the king, that thing has to die, but after that, Sorcerer's Apprentice is next on the list. Like, even over Cult Sorcerer most of the time, unless there is like a particularly insane arcane blast target on the board that you have to get rid of the spell damage for, because
before Mana Worm never dies.
I mean,
it's just like 18 damage.
It's possible, I agree, but you know, as you said, you can look at it from the other perspective and say, you know, your opponent is out of cards. He's had to play a really inefficient turn 2 because of the arcane missiles outcome. So don't give them the opportunity to, you know, tempo back into the game by drawing cards cheaply and then, you know, picking up more spells that they can use. You know, just try and wall them out as much as you can. This is almost becoming an attrition game for the zoo now.
Yep, and it looks like the Mana Worm will not live too long. It's already the trade from the Flamewaker. So as you said, Flamewaker, like, #1 sort of priority card overall in this mage deck, and it's going to die to the Imp Gang Boss. But what this does, the trade actually has a chance of keeping the Mana Worm alive for another turn as well. But like you said, holding on to Juggler, it's going to be a big deal depending on where this first Juggler goes.
I'm not sure I like
not...
this sequencing.
Why was... Okay, so that seems a little bit off. The extra damage for the Imp Gang Boss was insignificant because you're going to trade it into the Flamewaker anyway.
Right.
And the juggle from the 1/1 Imp had there was a chance with the juggle just hits the Flamewaker and then the 1 damage is wasted.
So, what I will say, if you hit your first juggle onto the 2/2 Flamewaker and it then becomes a 2/1 Flamewaker, you can then continue to develop minions and you then have 2 targets on the board, right? That you have a 66% chance to shoot a 1 health minion, which is valid. So it's pretty close, but as you said, I mean, your prophecy is coming to fruition right now. That Mana Worm has seen things. It is still here kicking around, and it's probably going to be forced to pick up a trade here. Because DrHippi's hand, after starting very aggressively, has fizzled out here, as the deck tends to do when you build it this heavily. So he has had to very quickly switch himself to a control game now.
Yeah, and you know, he does have the tools going forward for that as well. Like a Boss is out of cards. Obviously, he's a Warlock, so he can just tap into extra cards anyway. But DrHippi can go into Emperor this turn if he feels like it, because the trades would require the 4/3 and the 2/1 to go into it, so it clears a good chunk of the board anyway. And then follow up with the Paul as well, which is actually a big swing card in itself.
Yeah, Firelands Portal could potentially be huge here on the follow-up if he's able to get a good defensive outcome. And, in this situation, good defensive outcomes include things like Doomguard, because that's just, it's a 2-for-1 removal spell, essentially, right? So he's able to pick up, a nice taunt minion, which there are a good number of from Firelands Portal, or a charge minion that can, 2-for-1 on removal immediately, then that could be a big swing, especially since he'll be able to drop it alongside Cult Sorcerer to try and pick up some additional tempo on the next turn, so...
Yeah, I just like the Emperor here. I mean, there's a chance there's Fireball into ping is considered just to clear up as much of the board as possible, but I feel like playing the Emperor kind of does that job for you.
Yeah, it's very, very possible that the Emperor picks up a 2-for-1 trade anyway. This deck, he's already seen an abusive. I think was Direwolf discarded? Is that the card that was discarded off the Soulfire initially? I don't quite remember,
no.
But he's seen some buffs being used already. Of course, Argus as well is already on the board, so there's a lot of potential buffs out the window, and he doesn't play Power Overwhelming in the list, so that's one of the biggest tools out the window.
Yeah, that opens up for the trade-ups that Zoo is normally known for. Maybe it used to be known for now, because it's all about the cycle with the discard mechanic, and DrHippi now draws into the Azure Drake, so opens up the chance to play that plus ping, but I still feel like it's either Emperor or Firelands, I don't know. Go Firelands onto the 1-3, just to remove that as a threat.
Oh, for the sake of 1 power, you kill the Imp, surely.
Yeah.
I definitely disagree with this one. Nexus Champion Sarad is a tool that, if it survives, is going to be a big deal, but it's not going to survive because there are both options in hand now for Bawse. The Soulfire is going to get discarded, and yeah, for the difference of 1 power between such a huge tool in the Malcazar's Imp and the Defender of Argus, I'm not sure if I can get on board with DrHippi's decision there.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about earlier. They're the chances, it's like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, they're the chances that allow the Zoo to get back in the game if you feel ahead or continue to push. And yeah, we got an Argent Squire from it, so we got a 1-1 Divine Shield from that Imp staying alive versus the 1 damage that... he would have took extra, but he'll just take the damage from the Squire now.
Yeah, and now the Tempo Mage is so far behind in this matchup now. It's not a matter that can be redeemed, just by a couple of 1-for-1 removal spells. And this list, it's running 1 Firelands Portal as its 7-mana removal tool that we just seen used, and 0 copies of Flame Strike, 0 large-scale AoE at all. So he's going to need probably some Kabbalist Tome miracles to fight his way back into this game.
Yeah, there's also, because he has the Cult Sorcerer, there is an Arcane Explosion in the list
That's
as
true.
well. So that's one of the sort of snapbacks he can... he can draw just to be able to reset the board, especially because the Doomguard is at the moment on 2 health. So, there is something he can do there with just a lot of spell power and a big Arcane Explosion. Might be enough, but there's only 1. So he has to draw it first.
Yeah, he does have the Drake to cycle an additional card, and yeah, with the amount of spell damage he has available to him, I'm sure...
And the Thanos is going to draw too.
Yeah, the Thanos is going to draw, so I'm sure it's going to go down and not remain as spell damage here, but he has 2 spell damage minions in his hand, so his capability to just sweep this board next turn... there are 2 3-health minions, and the rest are less than that, so if Arcane Explosion is drawn here, this is going to be... huge!
Okay.
DrHippi is a man destined for BlizzCon. I am calling it now.
Oh, he even has intellect.
He definitely does have intellect.
He does have intellect in the card sense and the general sense as well. Arcane Explosion, the 1 card, I believe, in the deck, other than, Arcane Explosion from a Kabbalist Tome, would have been enough to at least just secure it. And now, Bawse is on the back foot out of nowhere. Another Drake, Frostbolt, 1-mana Cult Sorcerer. DrHippi pretty much has everything he needs to finish this game up.
And that draw is so huge because we both feel if there's going to be a weak point, if there's something holding DrHippi, who is one of the favorites in this tournament, if there's something holding him back from taking his seat at BlizzCon, it's this tempo mage decision, right? It's can you pilot this deck at this level without that much experience? And I mean, that Arcane Explosion draw sure does help patch over some cracks.
Yeah, 100%. And now, you know, DrHippi is taking his time to really think about it. As you said, if he closes this